Welcome to the Lisa B Show, the podcast where we talk about finding Mr. Right, the new rules of love, masculine and feminine energy, and all things women.
This is Lisa B, and this week's episode is masculine and feminine energy in the workplace. And today I'll be speaking with Kim Johnson. Kim has worked with Tony Robbins as a coach for a number of years, and she's also the author of the book, Nail It in 90. This week's sponsor of the Lisa B Show is the Little Black Dress Cleanse. Are you sick and tired of feeling sick and tired? Are you fed up with going on different fad diets that don't ever seem to work? Have you had enough of your favorite dresses being way too tight? Let Laurie help you with the Little Black Dress Cleanse. In 4 days, you can see and feel a real difference. Go to littleblackdresscleanse.com. Today, Kim, I'd like to talk to you about masculine and feminine energy in the workplace. And there's two sections to that. There's actually if you work at home and if you're working in a business. So with your experiences, your experience of your clients, how can masculine and feminine energy first impact you on working from home? Whether you're a single mom or you're working with somebody, how can being in that masculine and feminine energy impact you?
Well, I think no matter where you are when you're doing work, the masculine and feminine energy for a woman in managing those two things going back and forth can be very challenging because you're in get it done mode, right? Mm-hmm. And so one that is more on the masculine side of the scale, mm-hmm. and it has a tendency to come out like a bulldozer sometimes. Mm-hmm. So people can view that as you being very forceful. Mm-hmm. Whereas they might view it with a man as he's very committed. You are very forceful, right? Like they tend to use different language for women, which we know we're prepared for that. Yeah. And when we're home
you're a bitch.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're working by yourself and you're out of your house, most women who do that, they're so intense and so driven. They work more than when they're actually under the guise of somebody watching over them. Mm. They're like totally committed to it. Mm-hmm. So that energy in itself is just, when it comes to work, it is an extremely challenging position for a woman to be in.
Yeah. See, I know myself, I've been in the masculine energy, sort of in a corporate role, if you like, with staff and, managing staff and all that sort of thing. Then when I sort of decided that I wanted to flick the switch and explore my feminine energy a lot more, my work suffered a lot because it was like I wasn't in that mindset anymore. It was more, there's a butterfly, it wasn't kind of like I didn't have my goals and my outcomes and my vision and my all that sort of thing. And I started working from home. And I couldn't get anything done. In my feminine energy, I could not get anything done. It was like I was more about connection with other people than what I was about getting things done. So it was like I was, I'd sit at home going, oh, I wonder what such and such is doing. I just wanted some kind of connection and I just couldn't kind of get anything done. And it was like I really had to flick the switch and make the conscious decision. I need to get into masculine mode here. I need to...
So it was opposite for you, what you're describing, right? You were more in the feminine when you were home.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'd made that decision. I had a child and I've got my little boy, and it was like I was nurturing and I was in that mode, and it was like I really don't want to go back to that dark side masculine energy because I was so stressed when I was over there, and as I said, I had no balance when I was over in that masculine energy. And it was like I wanted to be in that feminine mode, but I just didn't get things done, and then I realized that it was okay, when I'm working from home, I've got to set my agenda. I've got to still have my goals, and I've got to have my outcomes, and I've got to plan, and I've got to have maybe an accountability partner or, a coach that's going to kick my butt if I don't do things, And so it was very much a very conscious decision working from home. And I see that a lot of women working from home, they're sort of in their feminine energy, they've got children, and they're wondering why their business isn't progressing as much as they'd like it to, or as much as their business has performed before. I feel it's because of their energy and their mode, and they've flicked the switch.
You know what? You are spot on. And I think that every single person, whether it's, I don't care whether you're on one side of the line or the other, understanding how to flick that switch when you need it to and when you want it to is the most important thing.
Yeah, definitely.
That really is true. You have to be able to work your switch, which is what I love about your stuff, right?
Yeah.
And 100%, if you can do that, you're going to be so much better off.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like I said to you, it was like when I went into my feminine energy, it was like, wow, I've walked away from my business. I walked away from my staff. I walked away from everything because I felt that I wasn't supposed to be masculine. It was, I'm a female, so I should be feminine. So I shouldn't be doing all that masculine stuff. But I didn't have the balance.
And balance is the key.
Absolutely.
That is the key.
Absolutely.
Being able to balance yourself out is all that matters.
Yep. And so how did you find when you first found out about masculine and feminine energy, and how did that affect you in your business mind? Did you make any massive changes?
I think in the beginning it was really hard for me because I didn't find that I had a very hard time relating to it because I was like, oh no, that's not me. I get things done, right? Like I was in complete denial. Yeah. I think still to this day, sometimes if I'm, really examining it, I still will deny the fact that I was in that mode because it doesn't always rear itself in a very obvious way until I get called out on it. Like my husband will call me out on it. Mm-hmm. And he, he'll have the tendency to say, why are you being like such a guy right now? And then if he says that to me, it's easy for me to go, oh, wait, was I doing that? Yeah, I guess I was. Mm. Now, I might want to kill him when he says that.
Yeah, of course.
But, who wouldn't in that moment? But at least I have that identifier. At least I can look at that and be like, right, okay. Mm-hmm. It's true. I was doing that. And in the workplace, being a coach, you tend to be in that mode more often than not. So I have to make sure that I consciously switch when I'm done coaching for the day.
But I think with your coaching, I think the profession itself is like you are getting things done. You're in a masculine mode in a lot of ways, but you're also in a nurturing mode. You're actually caring about the person at the same time. It's like you're understanding about what they're going through and what they're doing. And so I think it's very much from the way I've seen you do it, I think you're very balanced in that masculine and feminine in your coaching. And I don't know if you've consciously thought that, but I think you are, because as I said, you're mapping it out and going, you've got to do this, 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 and this, but you're so caring the way that you do it in the same way.
I think that piece comes from me, from being, I was able to fuse those pieces together for business by using creativity. So to me, creativity is the bridge over the chasm between masculine and feminine energy. Right? So I'm like super creative, as you know. Yeah. And because I'm very creative and I see myself as a creative strategist and I'm constantly doing creative things and I use that as my fuel for life in general, that helps me bridge the gap, and the creativity is all that softer side of things, right? So it allows me to utilize my get things done with the, how could this work? How can I use it creatively? And it's a blend.
Yeah. I think having businesses and having staff, when I was in my masculine energy, at the very start of having my business, when I was in the start of it, I studied all the masculine men in business and sales, Zig Ziglar and, all of those ones, Brian Tracy. And
there's only ones out there, right? There aren't a lot of women out there to
there wasn't. Well, there's probably more now, Oprah, I'm not sure. But I don't know, there wasn't really very many women role models that I felt that I could take after, especially in sales and real estate and, getting things done. And I was a bitch. Like, I really felt like a bitch when I had my business at the start. It was like I felt like I had to go, okay, where are you? What are you doing? Da, 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 da. And then And then it sort of hit me. I watched this video, and it was an eco challenge, and this woman showed all the different teams in the eco challenge, and there was one that was all about her and was all about what she could achieve, and all that sort of thing. And it just showed the different leadership styles. And the guy that ended up the leader that won the eco challenge was the one that led, but also followed up from behind, was also like, are you okay? Do you need a hand with anything? Okay, let me carry your bag. Okay, we've got to get to this point, but are you okay? Do you want some water? You know what I mean? It was like they had that balance of caring as well as having the goals and making sure that people achieve them, but they were making sure that everything was okay as well. And I think that's really important when you're in business, is like to have that balance of achieving, but also making sure that your staff are okay.
And empowering. What you're talking about was he was empowering and participating.
Absolutely.
And that all does come from the other side of the spectrum, which would be that feminine energy of being able to touch into it. And it doesn't have to come out in a feminine way, but it definitely is and I think that's what I love about your stuff, is that, understand that it's not about being girly. It's about having that awareness of feminine energy, which everybody has.
Yeah, it's being in your heart, not only in your head. And I know from my experience, I was in my head a lot of the time. And it's just, it feels so good to go into your heart.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. It feels wonderful when you go there. And it feels real and authentic. And it feels like a win when you're in that place. It doesn't feel foreign.
What sort of suggestions could you give people that are working together, husband and wife, partners together, being able to get that masculine and feminine energy balance when they're working together?
So it's everything always, it doesn't matter if it's your partner, you're in an office, where you are, everything always comes back to awareness. So the only way that you can shift anything that we're talking about is to become hyper aware of what your actions are and your emotions are around what's happening with your office, your space, your projects. If you don't like the way you feel, or you feel that other people are showing up in a way and they don't like you, there's probably a good reason for that. And you should probably look at it, right? We've talked about this before, and it's all a matter of just being aware and being willing to take that hard look at yourself and go, all right, well, that probably wasn't the most resourceful thing. I understand that there are moments when I overreact to something, or I might have an emotional reaction. I get that. I'm a human being. Before masculine or feminine or anything else, I'm a human being, right? I can't fix anything ever on a human level unless I'm aware I'm doing it. I don't know that there are termites in my house unless I go look.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it wouldn't show up until the house fell down. So it's all about awareness and making sure that you take the time to look at your behavior and look at the behavior that's going on around you and saying, is this working for me? Does this make me feel good? Or am I just not happy with it? And if you're not happy with it, then that's when you have to take the time to figure out what you want to change.
Absolutely.
Awareness is always the key, and that's the biggest thing to start with. Anybody who's listening that wants to make a quick shift and a change, to spend a whole day observing your own behavior and saying, wow, I can't believe I said that. I can't believe that came out of my mouth. Or what was the reason that came out of my mouth? Holy cow. Yeah. I don't even really think I felt that way, but it just seemed to pop out.
But you're right. A lot of people, when I talk to some women about masculine and feminine energy, it can upset a lot of people because they think, I don't want to be a man, or I don't want to be seen as a man. But it's also like, a lot of the time I don't look at it as masculine and feminine energy either. It's strong energy or power energy and soft or loving energy. And it's having the balance between those two. And like you said, if you don't feel good, or you haven't attracted into your life what you want, then it is time to have a good hard look at yourself and go, okay, what are the things that I want to change or to adapt or to get into my life, to bring into my life? And I think if you're not happy, you hit the nail on the head. You've got to look within.
Always. And, and the big thing is this: women get offended when someone says that about masculine or feminine energy for one reason and one reason only, because somebody's passing a judgment on them.
Yeah.
And we get judged way too much.
Yeah.
What we look like, what we wear, how our hair looks, what we eat, it doesn't matter what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Women are the worst offenders of it. We judge each other constantly.
Yeah.
And now there's, how you parent. Oh, let me judge how you parent. Let me judge what your kid looks like. Let me judge what your kid has for lunch.
Yeah.
For crying out loud, instead of being like, hey, maybe she needs some help. Maybe her kid doesn't have healthy food because she needs some help. We're like, what the hell is she thinking, sending the kid to school with that lunch?
Yeah.
It's not fair. But that's why the moment someone says that, and you bring up masculine and feminine energy to most women and they don't know what it is or they don't understand it, they instantly feel being judged. Mm-hmm. So of course we're going to run from it, because hell, who wants to be judged? I don't know. I don't.
Yeah. I know. Well, I was offended when I found out about it, and I asked a few men and I said, what do you think I am, masculine or feminine energy? It was like, oh, masculine. I was like, really? Really? Oh my God. And it hurt, because I thought, wow, I don't even know how to change this, or they see me as a man. Oh my God, what do I do here?
Right.
And
you're giving me this information and I don't even know what to do with it.
Exactly. It's like, all right, great. Well, what do I do now? And that's what started my journey, because I guess I did feel judged. And I think I did have tears in my eyes the first time a guy said it to me. It was like, shit.
Because they were judging you, and you were like, how dare you pass judgment on me? I go through this constantly every day. I judge myself before I can't even put clothes on in the morning without judging myself.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's what happens.
Yeah.
We're constantly beating ourselves up, right?
Yeah, that's right. But
it's so funny, because my aunt, who is in her 70s now, she said to me the other day, and she hasn't been well, and she's, she was really sick, and she was in a nursing home, and then she came out. She worked her way out, which is astounding compared to what happened to her. And I said something to her about, how are you feeling? And she said, well, I feel great. And she said, I looked at this body. A couple months ago, I used to look at myself and I'd be so irritated for this roll of fat or this or that. And she goes, now I look at it and I love it all. And it's the first time I'm not judging myself. She goes, I love this 70-something-year-old body as much as I possibly can now, because you know what? No, it's not the 20-year-old body that I used to have. And she goes, and even then I would look at that 20-year-old body and I would be judging it constantly. Yeah. And it's got to stop. It's just got to stop.
Yeah. Jeez. Wow. That'd be good. Be good if we could be like that in our 20s, wouldn't it?
With that information, sure. Sure would.
All right. So what do you think, just relating back to the workplace, using masculine and feminine energy with customers? So somebody in, say, real estate, for example, or in a sales field. Let's talk about sales specifically. How do you think that somebody can use masculine energy, and how can they use feminine energy with a customer?
I think it depends on the customer you're dealing with, because some people, it's almost like you have to read what that person would want in that moment, right? And you have to get very skilled at knowing these are tools, right? And you don't have to be in one or the other all the time, but you can use them as tools. Like there are some masculine men who, if you went to approach them as another masculine male, you would have a challenge with, right? Especially if you're a woman.
Yes.
Whereas if you approach them with a feminine energy, and I'm not talking about flirting, people, so don't think that I am, and don't send us lots of notes, because that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just using a softer energy, so you're not challenging his masculine energy.
Yes.
You're enhancing it.
Yes.
That's the key.
That's the polarity. So I think, what you're saying is sometimes there's the polarity, there's the getting the opposite energies with your client. And then do you think sometimes that there's a time when you're getting on the same side as them?
That's correct. That's a beautiful way to say it. Perfect.
Yeah. So it might be if you're dealing with a very feminine woman, if you're going to go into your masculine, maybe she might like it, maybe she might not. Maybe she might prefer you to be in that feminine kind of energy and nurturing kind of thing. And I guess you're right. It's assessing each client and seeing what they're going to be comfortable with. And I think it's just the awareness, as you said, of your energy, their energy, and what's working.
I think that sometimes, but you know what I think happens, because I'm in the process of selling a house right now, and I'll tell you what, we had 2 real estate agents, and both of them were men, and chosen by my husband, and the house didn't sell. And the house is a great house. It didn't sell, and I said to my husband, "You need to get a woman." And he said, "Why?" I said, "Because the energy of that house is very different. It's a very eclectic place, and you need to have a female energy selling it." So we called a woman that helped us buy that house originally. And she's the one that's been working on it. And in the last 4 days, she's had at least 15 people already through it. And it's because of her energy. And it's because of how she presents it and what she says and the way, and she's a very eclectic British woman. So she has this flow about her, right? And miraculously, she's pulling people in right away where the others couldn't. And I think that says it all, is that she reads it. And funny enough, she really does well selling to military guys.
So is she very feminine?
She's very good at reading the person across from her. So in my opinion, having spent a lot of time with her in the past, because she helped me find 2 different condos, she was somebody that was in my life for a long time before I met my husband. She's very good at hearing what the person says. So if I say to her, "I need something that's a creative space," when she goes to show it to me, she'll use that language right back to me. She reads me very well. She'll never say to me, "Oh, this is a beautiful space that you can, choose to paint in." No, she'll say to me, "This is a creative space."
Yeah.
So she's hyper aware.
Yeah, she's got the, yeah.
Right? And so even though she's dealing with a lot of masculine people, she has a way of meeting their needs and doing it in a way that allows them the space to be themselves and her to be herself.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. So if there's one piece of advice you can give a woman in the workplace, what would it be relating to masculine and feminine energy?
Oh boy, I would say the better chance you have in your life of achieving all the things that you want is that you get really good at being able to read both those energies and knowing which one to use. It's like, to me, it's like having a tool bag, right? You can't always show up to the job with a hammer. You need a screwdriver, you need other tools, you need pliers, you need a saw. You can't always show up with the hammer. So get really great at reading the different energies, and then you will have the most success. And knowing, I need to show up in masculine, I need to show up in feminine, I need to show up in the combination of both. And in the words of my friend here, you flick the switch.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you can flick the switch, you have solved your problem, so to speak.
Agree. Flicking the switch, the balance, I think that's everything. That's everything.
It's everything. And being able to know which one to use at the right moment in time is the artistry.
Yeah. And also, if something doesn't go the way that you want it to, assess, think back and go, wow, was I in my masculine energy? Was I in my feminine energy? How could I have actually approached that situation different? Did I go in too hard? Was I too forceful? Was I too weak? Just learn from your experiences and learn from your energy.
And don't think of it as judging yourself. Just think of it as taking an inventory of what tools you used.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kim. I really appreciate your time. I love talking to you about masculine and feminine energy.
Right back at you anytime.
All right. Thank you.
You have been listening to The Lisa B Show, where we talk about finding Mr. Right, the new rules of love, masculine and feminine energy, and all things women. To continue your journey with us, please find us at www.banishthebitch.com.